Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. Always Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Parampar Mati, whenever you're ready, you can start Mati.
Yes, Babuji. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utirayit Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Panchakalpatarubhyascha Krupasindhavachavatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So, Canto 3, Chapter 25 from text 30 to 44. Canto 3 is give me a second. Canto 3 is status quo, the status quo, and the chapter 25 is the glories of devotional service. Text 30. My dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It is very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I'm not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. Text 31. Sri Maitreya said, after hearing the statement of his mother, Kapila could understand her purpose, and he became compassionate toward her because of being born of her body. He described the Sankhya system of philosophy, which is a combination of devotional service and mystic realization as received by disciplic succession. In text 32, Lord Kapila said, the senses are symbolic representations of the demigods, and their natural inclination is to work under the direction of the Vedic injunctions. As the senses are representative of the demigods, so the mind is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The mind's natural duty is to serve. When that service spirit is engaged in the devotional service to the personality of Godhead without any motive, that is far better even than salvation. Text 33. Bhakti, devotional service, dissolves the subtle body of the living entity without separate effort, just as fire in the stomach digests all that we eat. Text 34. The pure devotee who is attached to the activities of devotional service and who always engages in the service of my lotus feet never desires to become one with me. Such a devotee who is unflinchingly engaged always glorifies my pastimes and activities. Prabhuji, can you scroll? Text 35. O my mother, My devotees always see the smiling face of my form, with eyes like the rising morning sun. They like to see my various transcendental forms, which are all benevolent, and they also talk favorably with me. Text 36. Upon seeing the charming forms of the Lord, smiling and attractive, and hearing his very pleasing words, the pure devotee almost loses all other consciousness. His senses are freed from all other engagement, and he becomes absorbed in the devotional service. Thus, in spite of his unwillingness, he attains liberation without separate endeavor. Text 37. Thus, because he is completely absorbed in thought of me, the devotee does not desire even the highest benediction obtainable in the upper planetary system, including Satyaloka. He does not desire the 8 material perfections obtained from mystic yoga, nor does he desire to be elevated to the kingdom of God. Yet, even without desiring them, the devotee enjoys, even in this life, all the offered benedictions. Text 38. The Lord continued, My dear mother, devotees who receive such transcendental opulences are never bereft of them. Neither weapons nor the change of time can destroy such opulences. Because the devotees accept me as their friend, their relative, their son, preceptor, benefactor, and supreme deity, they cannot be deprived of their possessions at any time. Text for text 39 to 40. Thus, the devotee who worship me, the all-pervading Lord of the universe, in unflinching devotional service, gives up all aspirations to be promoted to heavenly planets or to become happy in this world with wealth, children, cattle, home, or anything in the relationship with the body. I take him to the other side of the birth and death. Text 41. The terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and also the Supreme Soul of all souls. Text 42. It is because of my supremacy that the wind blows out of the fear of me, out of the fear of me. The sun shines out of the fear of me, and the Lord of the clouds, Indra, sends forth showers out of fear of me. Fire burns out of fear of me, and the death goes about taking its toll out of fear of me. In text 43, all the yogis equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation and engaged in the devotional service for their eternal benefit take shelter of my lotus feet. And since I am the supreme Lord, I am the Lord, they are uh, they are thus eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead without fear. Text 44. Therefore, persons whose minds are fixed on the Lord, engaged in the intensive practice of devotional service, that is the only means for attainment of the final perfection of life. Hare Krishna, this ends the chapter 20.
Thank you so much, Mother. Hare Krishna. Yeah, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mother Vrinda Kumari Mata.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Nashtaprayesha Bhatresha Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtaki. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 25, from verses 30 to 44, which is the end of this chapter. So this is the continuation of the conversation between Devahuti and Kapila Dev. And Mother Devahuti has taken the shelter of Lord, and she's inquiring from him. And after Kapila Dev explains about the yoga system and how one needs to act in devotional service rather than acting under the three modes of material nature. She further inquires, such as what type of devotional service one needs to develop so that one attains the service of his lotus feet immediately. So she is willing to know the nature of the mystic yoga system, which he is explaining, and about various ways to know about that yoga system. And this is now continuation, where from verse 30, Mother Devahuti now taking shelter of her son, and she's asking, she wants to receive the absolute knowledge from him. So she understands that it's very difficult for her to understand this knowledge because she's a woman. So she's requesting him to explain it to her and make her understand. And she's confident that if he makes her understand, she will be able to understand it easily. So it shows her submissive nature and she wants to experience the transcendental happiness, which she knows that she will experience this transcendental happiness when she knows about this absolute knowledge. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that how absolute knowledge can be easily understood even when a person is ordinary or less intelligent because of the grace of the spiritual master. So he gives example of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur here in the purport, who says that Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasado, which we usually recite in the Mangalarti, right? So we receive the mercy of the Lord through the mercy of the spiritual master. So how much ever the subject matter is difficult, it can be easily understood by the grace of spiritual master. So we often get to hear this question also, right? Why women are considered as less intelligent. Because Mother Devahuti also says here that I am a woman, so it is difficult for me to understand this subject matter. So please help me understand. So we have also heard many times in various places that women are considered less intelligent. So there are some references of Srila Prabhupada and also His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, which explains about it. Srila Prabhupada says that it is a general case and it is not applicable to everyone. Intelligence is meant by spiritual philosophical depth. So Chaitanya Charan Prabhu says that the intelligence is the ability to differentiate between spirit and body, which means that we have to understand we are not the body, but we are the soul. So this bodily identification is stronger in women than men in this material world. Although it exists in both of them, but they identify themselves to be the body, but it is stronger in women because women have the attractive forms. So if women are not spiritually minded, her self-identification comes largely from her body. She identifies herself largely as the body. So in such case, to understand that I'm not body, it's a little more difficult for her than a man. Also, this is more applicable to non-devotees, and it is not applicable to devotee women. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, right, in 10.34. So that reference is also there, that among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. So Srila Prabhupada says that these 7 opulences are considered feminine. So intelligence is also there in one of those opulences. Srila Prabhupada has written very highly about even female devotees, right? Such as Mother Kunti, Draupadi, Gopis. So Mother Kunti, who has taken complete shelter of Krishna, and how she knows that Krishna is the supreme. So she's the most intelligent, right? Another reason Srila Prabhupada says that why women are considered to be less intelligent, because they are more of emotional than rational, because men are more of rational. And because of their emotional nature, they are soft-hearted, and they have more attachments. And it's little more difficult for them to come out of these attachments because of their soft-hearted nature. So these are some of the reasons behind this less intelligence of women. So we can understand it through Srila Prabhupada's explanations. And here Mother Devahuti is also being very humble and taking the low position by calling herself as less intelligence. Because otherwise, if you see, she's the mother of the Lord, right? She definitely knows that he's the supreme. But she's being humble and taking the low position here. So we'll go next, text 31. So after hearing her request, Kapila Dev could understand her heart, and being her son, he naturally felt compassionate towards her, and he started to explain about the Sankhya Yoga, which is a combination of devotional service and mystic realizations. And then 32, he starts to explain about senses first, because that's the first reason why we are here. We wanted to enjoy our senses separate from Krishna. So he explains that the senses are the representatives of demigods, and mind is the representative of Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is all given in the purport also by Srila Prabhupada. So our senses need to be engaged always in some activity, right, in some occupation. Either it can be material or spiritual. And mind is the center of all the senses. So our senses are controlled by different demigods, and because the mind is the center of the senses, if it is engaged in the service of the Lord, then senses are also automatically situated in their natural position. So mind and senses both are meant to serve, but when they are engaged in any material activity, they are materially contaminated. But actually, they are meant to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Prabhupada further says that senses are called Rishika, and Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Rishikesha. So all the senses are naturally inclined to serve the Lord. And that's what is called bhakti, where we engage all our senses to serve the Lord. And that bhakti is higher than liberation. So engagement of mind in the service of the Lord without any motive is called animitta. That's what Prabhupada says in the purport. And it is higher than liberation or salvation. In 33, just one second. Prabhupada further mentions how devotee is automatically liberated when engaged in bhakti. He gives the example of fire, which is given there in the translation as well. Fire in stomach, which digests the food. If stomach has sufficient digestive power, then food is digested by the fire, right? So a person need not make any separate efforts for that to digest the food, right? Similarly, if bhakti is there, if bhakti is present, liberation is achieved without any separate endeavors. So Bilva Mangal Thakur, he gives example of Bilva Mangal Thakur, who says that if one has unflinching devotion for the Lord, liberation serves him as a maidservant and always ready to do whatever one asks for. So a devotee need not do any separate efforts like impersonalists. Impersonalists are always going through penances and austerities. But bhakti is comparatively easy, right? Srila Prabhupada has given us very easy method. Like you can perform it even when you are grihasthas and even when we have children and other duties. We can chant Mahamantra, and Prabhupada says that bhakti starts with our tongue. So we can chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and eat the prasad. So when Krishna sees that a person is chanting my name very sincerely, so then he sends spiritual master for him. So now this is connected to the first verse of today, right? Where we heard the glories of spiritual master when Devahuti is taking shelter of Kapila Deva as his spiritual master. So spiritual master is a representative of the Lord who is sent by him in our lives because he's sitting there in our hearts as Paramatma. And as a Chaitya Guru, when he sees that one is sincerely chanting, he sends the spiritual master for us. So text 34, qualities of devotees are mentioned for the qualities, and there is also comparison with Mayavadis is given there. So Srila Prabhupada mentions about 5 types of liberations in the purport. We all know those 5 types of liberations: Salokya, Srashti, Samipya, Sarupya, and Ekatva. So Salokya means living on the same planet as the Lord. Srashti means same opulences. Samipya means a close association of the Lord. And Sarupya means say having same features as the Lord. And Ekatva means merging or being one with the Lord. So Kapila Deva mentions that a devotee is never willing for any of these liberations. And especially becoming one with the Lord is considered to be hellish. It is mentioned by Prabodhananda Saraswati, who is the great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So further he explains about Mayavadi philosophy. Prabhupada has mentioned about Mayavadi philosophy in many, many verses, and he has always warned us how we should be away from this. And even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has warned us to stay away from it because they consider Supreme Personality of Godhead as impersonal. So that philosophy should never be accepted. They want to be one with the Lord in Brahma Jyoti, which is the effulgence of the Lord, right? But the greatest pleasure is to serve the Lord, which gives even more pleasure. Right? Mayavadis consider the pastimes of Krishna as stories. They think that these are just mere stories, and they do not believe in those stories, and they speculate. They add many of their own things in that about the pastimes, and Prabhupada says that it's very dangerous. So if we hear them, one gets bewildered very easily, and then it takes very long time for that person to come out of that bewilderment. And then because people are kind of brainwashed there, and they give very much their own speculative knowledge. So this is all different, or it's completely away from the knowledge which we get from the authoritative scriptures. So we should always read and hear from authoritative scriptures like Srimad Bhagavatam is there, Bhagavad Gita, and many other such scriptures we have. And we have Srila Prabhupada's books. So devotees meditate on those pastimes. So for a devotee, this is not a mere story, but it is our history. And devotees meditate on that. They don't just consider them as stories. So this is about verse 34. 35, how devotees worship and look at the Lord as the most beautiful person, and how they admire his beauty and look at the forms of different various forms of the Lord. And Mayavadi consider deities as idols, right? But we do not worship idols, we worship deities. So since our senses in this material world are imperfect, we cannot see transcendental form of the Lord. So Lord very mercifully accepts the Archa Vigraha for us, which is not different from him. So a devotee relishes that worship of the Lord. He likes to dress him up. He likes to do arti. Then the devotee likes to feed the bhoga to the deity. This is all the methods. These are all the methods taught by Srila Prabhupada to us, right? So these are the simple methods which devotee loves to do, even as a grihastha or in any other ashram, that a devotee can continue with these methods. And by continuing this worship, the deities also then start to reciprocate with the devotee, right? How Lord reciprocates to us through our prayers and our desires in our hearts, and that only devotee can experience. Unfortunately, Mayavadis cannot experience it. So devotees enjoy deity worship and always like to serve the Archa Vigraha. So this is a little bit about deity worship and about Archa Vigraha of the Lord. 36, it's the further stage where how devotees get completely absorbed in devotional service by the charming forms of the Lord, because his senses are free from other engagements. Devotee is not engaged in anything else than thinking about the Lord or serving him or doing deity worship. So that's how he attains liberation without any separate efforts. Devotee did not make any separate efforts to attain liberation. That comes automatically. Then Prabhupada explains about 3 types of devotees: first class, second class, third class, Uttama, Madhyama, and Kanishta, right? So how all these different types of devotees become absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, and they do not intend to do anything else. They lose all other consciousness. And if one follows this devotional service process, which is given in the scriptures, then he becomes equal to Brahman, right? Which is his original identity. Original identity of soul is like his Brahman, right? Because we are the part and parcel of the Supreme Brahman. But we have forgotten it all because we are all captured by Maya. So when one is trained through scriptures, even a third class devotee who is for whom it is little understand and difficult to understand the things, he can easily understand this absolute knowledge. So there are many recommendations for devotees by Srila Prabhupada. He mentions that we can chant the Maha Mantra, we can associate with devotees, hear from Bhagavatam, visit temples, and look at the beautiful form or admire the beautiful form of the Lord, and live in dhams like Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwarka. So this is a little bit about verse 36. Yeah. 37. Further qualities of devotees, that how devotee is not willing to get promoted to any higher planets like Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, even Satyaloka. And even though all those planets have various benefits in such higher planets, but because all those benefits or opulences are very low for a devotee compared to the joy of serving the Lord. And although devotees are not willing to enjoy these benefits, Krishna makes sure that they are getting benefited of all these facilities of the material and spiritual worlds, even in this life. So we can see how Krishna protects a devotee. Even though a devotee is not willing to enjoy these benefits, Krishna provides this even in this life, and he protects him. And he gets benefited of all these facilities. 38, how Krishna protects the devotees who accepts him as his friend or relative or son or deity. Kapila Dev then says that the devotees are never bereft of any benefits or their possessions at any time. Srila Prabhupada compares benefits of higher planets and devotional service. Although one promoted to the higher planets, as soon as the benefits of those effects of those benefits are over, they again come back, right? It's not permanent. But devotional service is eternal. Yeah, it never ends. In Vaikuntha, there is no influence of time, no present, no past, no future. So in devotional service, everything, it's all eternal. It continues. And because devotees accept Krishna in different relations, like son, friend, or lover, or these relations are also eternal, which we accept him as our eternal associate or our eternal son or friend. So one should be intelligent enough to worship the Lord, and so one who worships the Lord is promoted to Vaikuntha planets, where there is no influence of time, destruction, annihilation, which is given by Prabhupada in the purport. So let's move to the next one, 39 and 40. Where devotees, again, it mentions that we do not wish to go for higher planets or heavenly planets, or to be happy in this world with wealth, children, home, or anything in relation with the body. Srila Prabhupada explains that those in the mode of goodness are promoted to higher planets. Those are in the mode of passion, they remain in a society where activities are very prominent. And those who are in the mode of ignorance, they get degraded to animal life or any lower grade of human life. But devotees, there is no such concern, because devotee is always praying to the Lord, right? Oh my Lord, it does not matter where I am born, but let me be born even as an ant in the house of a devotee. Devotees are completely surrendered to the Lord as per the instructions by Krishna, right? Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that surrender unto me. And then he says, I will protect you. He will protect from all kinds of sinful reactions. So, and then in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says it is mentioned that how a devotee is immediately transferred to the Lord's transcendental abode after he leaves the body. And then he never takes birth again. Whereas ordinary living entities, they are transferred to the womb of another mother. And then they take birth as per their karma. And then they have to accept another body. And then it can be any body. It can be any animal body or anything. So that depending upon one's karma. So, but it does not happen with devotees. That chain of birth and death, it stops because of the mercy of the Lord. Text 41, he explains about inconceivable power of the Lord, how he transfers devotees to his abode. And Lord can do anything that may look inconceivable to us. That cycle of birth and death, like I explained, that stops because of the mercy of the Lord and his devotees. So devotees are completely surrendered, and Srila Prabhupada says in purport that unless one is not completely surrendered, no process can give him liberation. Like people, they like to say speculate about the Lord, or they practice various yogas. Even Prabhupada gives example of Lord Brahma and other demigods in the purport, that they are praying to the Lord, like when he's in the womb of the Lord, right? That there are some people who are puffed up because they are thinking that they have become one with the Lord. So they become so puffed up, they think now they are one with the Lord, and this is less intelligent. They themselves say that this is less intelligent. So only intelligence is to surrender, and which is done by pure devotees. So many of such qualities of pure devotees and their surrender are explained in purport by Prabhupada. And there is comparison is made, how Mayavadis fall down without surrender, and how their realizations are all theoretical, and how they neglect the devotional service to the Supreme. And all that. Again, this comparison is made in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. Text 42 explains how everything is controlled by Krishna and takes place because of his control. So one should not think that nature takes place on its own, or everything happens naturally or automatically. In fact, everything is under control of Krishna. Under his superintendence, like various demigods are working, such as Sun God, Moon God, or Vayu. And Supreme Personality of Godhead is the chief. Srila Prabhupada gives example how Supreme Personality of Godhead has a huge government, and he needs assistance, right? So all these demigods are assisting him as his servants under his directions. But devotees are not, devotees are completely protected. All these such things do not affect him. They are protected from all these influences. This is about 42. 43 further explains how yogis also take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, and so they are eligible to enter into the Lord's abode without any fear. So those are the bhakti yogis, who are engaged in devotional service all the time, and they have attained knowledge and renunciation also through Bhakti Yoga. So even if Prabhupada says, even if a devotee is illiterate, even though he is not able to read or is not highly qualified, this knowledge of the Absolute is revealed to him because he is engaged in the devotional service. So because he has engaged himself in the devotional service all the time through Paramatma, who is the Chaitya Guru, all this knowledge is revealed to him. So you can see how when one is engaged in devotional service, how Paramatma reciprocates. And that's how yogi is fully knowledgeable and he's renounced. The last verse, 44, says how one's mind should be fixed on the lotus feet of Krishna or his incarnations. So Prabhupada gives example of Amrish Maharaj in the purport, how his all senses were engaged in the service of Krishna. He fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. He spoke only on the pastimes of the Lord. So his tongue was always engaged in the glorification of the Lord. He smelled only the flowers and tulsi, which was offered to the Lord. He walked only to the temples. He engaged his hands in cleansing the temple, and he engaged his tongue in tasting the prasad, which was offered to the Lord. And he engaged his ears in hearing the great pastimes of the Lord. So in that way, all his senses were engaged. So he gives example of Amrish Maharaj, so we can get inspired, or we can also try to follow the footsteps of the devotees of the Lord. And then again in the purport, Prabhupada again reminds us that the mind is the master of senses. So mind should be fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. So all the other senses also automatically get engaged in the devotional service. So it starts with the mind. So mind can be the worst enemy or it can be the best friend also, depending upon our intention. So because mind is very chanchal, it is agitated, right? It's very agitated. So we can always engage ourselves in Krishna consciousness, which is the highest perfection of human life. So this is all about these verses. Some purports are very beautiful. I will share the numbers later to go through it. So if possible, please go through it. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I look forward to serving you again in future. I wish you all a very happy Krishna conscious Happy New Year. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
And thank you so much, Madhuri. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhuri, for a wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.